Hello, guys. Welcome to another virtual biology lesson. I hope that your mock tests went at least partially okay and downloading them from overloaded servers was successful. Anyway, for us, it's time to talk about biological diversity. And we're going to start with explaining what diversity itself is. And guys, by diversity, we understand the number of different species of different traits. Of course, it's heavily linked to genetics, at least at some level, but also it refers to number of various species that inhabit certain habitats in the world. And guys, if it comes to biological diversity, it can be uh, described on three various levels. And guys, one, two, and three. And the first kind of diversity is the ecological diversity. And it refers to ecosystems and the number of ecosystems, the diversity, the size of the diversity depends on the number of ecosystems in a certain place. So it has to be thought about globally because there are some regions in the globe, in the world, that have many more ecosystems than the others. The second one is called the species diversity. So on this level, we think about species and the number of them. So in certain areas of the world, we have uh, various species living next to each other, and the places that are home to many different species of animals, they will have the higher level of diversity, of species diversity, than the ones that are barely inhabited. And we also have the genetic diversity, and we are talking about differences among the same species. So we have a group of people, and all of them are slightly different. Some are taller, some are shorter, some have bright hair, some have dark hair, and this is the genetic diversity. There are some places in the world that we have a huge genetic diversity in terms of human, but this is all mostly due to migrations. In the wild, the genetic diversity is not that huge because basically certain species live in certain ecosystems, and depending whether the species has many individuals or not that many individuals, the genetic variation, the genetic diversity will be bigger or lower. And guys, if it comes to Poland only, let's focus first on ecosystem diversity. We have a few different ecosystems in Poland due to the fact that we are located in the moderate climate zone. So this is kind of a uh, Not that bad, I would say. Not that bad environment for many ecosystems to develop. So, examples of ecosystems diversity are forests, are dunes, are lakes, uh, rivers, and guys, some of them will be met widely when in the borders of our country. For instance, forests. There are plenty of them, and there are plenty of different kinds of forests. The one that will consist mostly of pines, the ones that will consist mostly of birches or oaks, and so on. So even this on this level, we can talk about ecosystem diversity. Actually, 30% of the surface of the country is covered in forests. Lakes. Lakes are mostly focused around certain regions in Poland, for instance, Mazuria, which is the lake district. So plenty of them can be found in here. But some of them are met only in certain places, like dunes can be only met in the coast, so close to the sea. The same case applies to mountains. Only the highest mountains, which are Tatra Mountains, some taller parts of Carpathian Mountains, they will also be distinguished as the separate ecosystem. Guys, if it comes to the species diversity, there is plenty of the species actually. Basically, so far, scientists know about around 60,000 species that live in Poland natively, including 35,000 animals, 3,000 species of plants, and 3,000 species of fungi. If it comes to the genetic diversity, the situation is kind of different because when we have a huge number of individuals belonging to a certain species, then the genetic diversity will be bigger. So, for instance, some species of doves, Golembia, they are so common, or crows, let's say, they are so common in here that the genetic diversity among them will be huge, will be really huge. This means that some of the individuals that live closer to the city centers usually will have darker colors. The ones that live in the rural areas, they will have brighter colors. But some of the species, such as European bison, żubr, they are really rarely seen, and there aren't many of them. So this means their genetic diversity is really small because we have a small group of animals. They don't have the space to develop differences. And guys, uh, the diversity as such is shaped by natural processes, and let's call them diversity shaping factors. And guys, unfortunately and undoubtedly, climate is one of the most important. Climate is one of the most important, and especially the parts of it, such as temperature, uh, precipitation, so the amount of rain, and also the insolation, which is the amount of energy that is reaching the surface of Earth. This means that some of the areas in the world will have much bigger diversity. Let's say this is world, this is North Pole, this is South Pole. Here we have the equator. Here we have the Tropic of Cancer. Here we have the Tropic of Capricorn. And here we have the polar ring. And guys, it turns out that the closer to equator and in the zone in between tropics, the biological diversity is the biggest. It's absolutely the biggest. Tropical rainforest climate zone is the place where we have the greatest diversity of species. In the Amazonian forest itself, we have hundreds of thousands of species, so it's even more than in Poland as a whole country. And basically, the most surprising fact is that they are so poorly researched that we don't really know how many of species of different organisms, both plants and animals and fungi, grow here. The more you move towards the poles, the lower the diversity will be because of the climate, because of the uh, lack of uh, as much precipitation, lower temperature, and in this green stripe we have the moderate climate zone, more or less, and this is the place where also the diversity is moderate. And in the blue I marked poles, which basically are places where the diversity on all levels is quite small, or maybe except for genetic diversity, because let's think about taiga, which is the polar forest with lots of limbs and spruces and pines. Well, basically, those are some big areas of forest, so genetic variation is very likely to occur, genetic diversity, sorry. But still, the more you move to the north, the more empty it becomes, especially the South Pole, the Antarctica, is the region where the diversity is really, really small. The next factor that is impacting really much the diversity is, of course, succession. Succession is the process that changes inhabitable areas on Earth into something that is more hostile, that is able to hold many more species, that becomes more friendly for all the animals and plants. And it basically works like this. At first, let's say we have a dune. So, lots of sand. And lots of sand. It's quite dry, even though it's close to the ocean or the sea, and it's difficult for bigger plants to occur in such area. Mostly because there is no soil in here. There is no humus, which is the most nutritious part of the soil. So at first step, there will be only a few the best adapted species, for instance, grasses. The grasses grow over time and they grow and die and they grow and die. So basically, the amount of biomass that is starting to be present on such dune made of sand only becomes bigger and bigger. And the more biomass we have, the better it, the more perhaps beneficial, I would say, beneficial for the plant, for other plants it becomes. So after some time, the dune starts to be starts to be uh, hostile. Yeah, that means that more and more species occur. More and more species start to occur, and basically, what is happening at this point, soil is formed. And once the soil is formed, bigger species can grow. And by this I mean trees. And there are two species of trees that are called the pioneer trees, which are pine, which doesn't have any requirements regarding of the soil, just a little bit of humus, but not too much, and lots of sand, and pines will grow perfectly well. And we have also the birch, which is also a tree that will be the first to enter a new area. And guys, this whole diversity basically is about those two factors, climate and succession. But sometimes it might happen that one of the species will go extinct. And this is not a really good occurrence actually for the whole species to disappear, because all of them play a vital role in building the food web. So lack of one species will cause another species to disappear. They are linked together. So what are the factors that could cause the extinction? First of all, human activity. If we keep destroying the habitats of certain species, then they will have no place to live, no place to breed, no place to eat. So at some point, they will go extinct in the most extreme case, and there are thousands of species that are in danger of extinction right now. But also, there are other possibilities that can occur, for instance, a cosmic impact. And by this, I mean the event that took place around 66 million years ago, where all the big reptiles just went extinct, probably due to the fact that this impact, this asteroid that hit the Earth's surface, uh, made a huge change in climate here in climate. That's important because all the dusts and all the debris that was thrown into the atmosphere was suspended in the atmosphere for years, not for hours or weeks, for years. And this limited the amount of solar energy, which is insolation, and it caused the climate to go really cold. Also, the proportion of precipitation changed, and this led to the extinction of the least adapted ones, which were the big reptiles. And actually, due to the fact that reptiles went extinct, only the smallest ones uh, could make it, could evolve, and it turns out that it were the mammals, small mammals from basically we evolved. Uh, right now, some scientists say that we are living in another mass extinction. There were at least six huge mass extinctions in the past, and right now we Another one is happening, but it's not due to a cosmic impact or a change of climate or anything. It's just our activity, our destroying of the planet, of natural habitats. And basically, this is a tragic conflict because we don't want to give up on our level of life. We still want to be, want our convenient lives. But on the other hand, if we keep this whole thing going on, then basically we will be destroying more and more natural habitats, leading to extinction of many more species. Okay, guys, that's it for now. We are going to continue this topic during further lessons. So that's it for now. Enjoy your day and please stay home. Oh, from now on, you can only stay home because of the new regulations.